is this next part here. The title of the show is "Why Does Everything Cost So Much?" I'm sure if you've been to the grocery store, filled up your car with gas, and in the last couple of years, you've seen it really go up. And they're telling us that inflation is like 2 or 3% per month, which is the biggest lie on earth. There's a lot of lies that they tell us, but the fact that they have the nerve to tell us that inflation is 3% is insane. It's actually insane. So if you believe a fraction of that to be the truth, then you need to check yourself. So anyways, what we're going to talk about here, and one person I've really been paying attention to within the Bitcoin world is Jeff Booth. And one thing he's a Canadian, probably my favorite Bitcoiner, honestly. But he talks about this all the time. He says, what does he say? the costs fall to the, I forget what it even is. It's hard to remember things on the show, but I've heard him say it 100 times. Costs fall to the lowest. I don't know. Somebody in the chat will know. But I've heard him say it 10 times. And that's the point of this, is that for people who aren't really knowledgeable with economics and money and how it all works, they hear that and they don't really understand what he's talking about. And so I want to take a little bit further deeper dive into it in terms of what does he actually mean by that? There it is. Thank you, Jose. Prices fall to the marginal cost of production. So I've heard Jeff Booth say that probably 100 times. Every podcast he goes on, he says that. And so I've finally started to put it together in my mind, thinking about it a little bit differently, because somebody like Jeff Booth, he speaks in a way he's a very intelligent guy. And I think that he's too detached from the average person in terms of what that actually means. Prices fall to the marginal cost of production. So we're going to talk about this. We're going to watch a short clip of Jeff here, and then we're going to talk about what the heck that means. So shout out to Justine in the chat. She said, took advantage of the dip and bought some more sats. Love that. Love that. And Sachi says, Manitoba rates are 9.6 cents per kilowatt hour. I was wrong. I'll have to verify that though, but I trust Sachi, my Manitoba compadre. So he says it's 9 cents per kilowatt hour. Still, that is pretty cheap. If that's the case, then maybe Manitoba will turn into a Bitcoin mining hub over time. Okay, so here is our man, Jeff Booth. Hopefully we're going to have him on the show one day soon. But in the meantime, we can just watch videos of him talking to other people. So here it is. This is about 2.5 minutes, and then we'll talk about it.
Network effect is taking off. It's just early. So if I'm in Canada, most of my friends don't realize that. How do you spend Bitcoin every day? Because I spend Bitcoin every day, and I give an incentive to companies that would take Bitcoin. I want to spend with those companies, but most of my friends don't do that, and it seems hard. And they ask me, how do I do that? So I'm like you. I spend most of my time and energy creating the world that I want to see. It's just I'm very aware when you go to the question on how fast, the timing is determined by us. The timing is determined by each of us and our actions. And like you said, most people don't realize that the incentives within the existing system that keep them there actually hurt them.
Yep, that's for sure. Let's move on. Yeah, actually, let me ask you another question within this system. Why do you think a politician and like American economist or whatever you want to call them, they incentivize to say that inflation is required for a productive society?
I honestly don't know if many of them even have done the work to understand that it isn't. So it's such a challenging thought because they've grown up in it. They were taught it. Their PhD thesis was on it. I can't. I think economics is super easy, actually, like super easy. It's just made to look hard, so that people won't ask the question because they don't think they're smart enough to ask the question. In economics, prices fall to the marginal cost of production. So prices fall because we create better and more value, and we use the things with more value, and we trade with each other all over the world. That's it. I think that's it. Everything else is a ruse to stop that. Stop that from happening. It's a control structure, and that means all political systems on top of that control structure are also control structures. If you ask somebody, I just got in this debate with a good friend of mine.
Okay, are we back? I believe we are. So that is Jeff Booth talking about a couple things. He said that everybody asks how long this is going to take to play out. And he said it depends on us. We're the ones who decide that, because the more of our energy, of our time we put into this new system, into Bitcoin, the faster that old system goes away. So we are the ones who are still feeding that old system without even really knowing it. If you're somebody who goes to work 9 to 5 and you have a pension, and your pension, your long-term savings account is in a company like Google or Apple, and all you're doing is just continuing to feed that beast, that's the system goes on for longer. With I think it's the top 6 or 7 stocks in the market that have like 90, I don't know what it is, but 80 or 90% of the total market cap. We're continuing to feed that system with our actions. And so the faster we want this to end, the more time we need to spend in Bitcoin. And so we talked about supporting other Bitcoiners. And so one thing I want to kind of start this little segment here with is that every day on the show, I'm going to be talking about a small business, a local business in a way, that is accepting Bitcoin and wants to get out in front of more Bitcoiners. And so today, the first one of the show, and I'm actually drinking their coffee this morning. I got a couple packages sent last week. So the first one is Grey Ridge Coffee. And you can find them. They're actually a local coffee manufacturer here. They do all their own beans. It's really good coffee. This one is the Ethiopian one, I think. But the one that I really like is the dark roast. And so it's a local company here. The guy's a Bitcoiner. He's a really good guy. And he's actually going to give us a discount on it. I'm going to talk about kind of the discounts and how this is all going to work in terms of going into this Bitcoin world. And so if you're interested, if you're a coffee person, consider checking out greyridgecoffee.ca. I'm going to put the link in the description below for you. So it's greyridgecoffee.ca, and you can actually get 25% off your order just by using the discount code KNG for King. KNG. So order a couple things of coffee, test it out, and try out the discount code 25% off. And if you would rather pay in Bitcoin, this, like I said, this guy is a Bitcoiner. So if you'd rather pay in Bitcoin, just shoot me an email, 88sats@proton.me, and I'll put you in touch with him. Or you could probably find his contact info from the website, greyridgecoffee.ca. So kind of the beauty of all this, kind of the beauty of all this is that as we move away from this old system, and Jeff was talking about supporting Bitcoiners, spending time in that system. As we continue doing that, things are going to get cheaper for us. And I'm going to talk about this in a little bit different way. So let's talk about his thesis there. He says that the marginal cost of production over time. So what does that mean? Let's think about a car. So 30 years ago, think about how much it would have cost to manufacture, to assemble, build a vehicle. Think about how many humans were required to go through the assembly line, check all the parts, put together all the parts, screw them all together. Think about how much time and energy that would have cost 30 years ago. Fast forward to today. where you look at a car manufacturing plant, it's all robotics. There's no humans there anymore other than making sure the robots are doing their jobs. So all of those humans, all of that cost, all of that energy is out of the equation. And so every time you go to purchase something, an item of anything, whether it's food, a new sweatshirt, a new car, the reason it costs so much is the energy and the cost that went into creating that item, right? So we would think that because we've saved so much in terms of human labor, energy, and costs, that the price of vehicles over time should go down. If we can make them faster for less money, less cost, that should reduce our cost, right? So that's an example of the cost of production, prices falling to the marginal cost of production. That's what he's talking about there, that as technology improves, as we take human labor out of the equation, as our costs of producing that item, whatever it is, car in this case, as that goes down, our costs to pay for that should also go down. So that's the cost of production. But there's also the cost of selling. Think if you're a small business now, think about the difference there that we have available with the internet. So even when using Grey Ridge as an example here, 20 years ago, they would have had to get a big contract with a grocery chain. They would have taken the majority of the profits from that. And they would have left Grey Ridge Coffee with a small little shavings of profits at the end of that transaction. So that would have been their cost of selling it, is they would have had to pay Walmart or Sobeys or whoever that is to sell it on their behalf. But now with the internet, you can find a YouTube channel, the Daily Bitcoin Journey, pay them a small amount in promotion, and you can get that out in front of people, and you can cut out the Walmarts, you can cut out the Sobeys. So that decreases your cost of selling. So in turn, our costs of that coffee should go down. And in this case, because he's providing us with a discount code, it does. But for the most part, that hasn't really had an impact on the cost and the prices that we've seen, right? So if these companies' costs of selling are going down, why isn't the cost of their product going down? That is, the cost of selling is the promotion aspect of it. So think about 20, 30 years ago and how much, if you're a small business, if you're Grey Ridge Coffee, you would have had to pay the newspaper, the radio. That's the only way that you could have got your message out and let people know that you exist, what your products are, what you sell. You would have had to pay a large amount every month in advertising fees just so that people would know about your company. But now, fast forward again, we have Facebook, we have Instagram, we have YouTube, we have TikTok, we have NOSTR, and all of these are completely free to use. So the cost of selling that item has decreased even further. So how does it make any sense if our cost of production, if our cost of selling goes down on every single item out there in the world because of technology? Why does it cost us more to buy now? That's the issue. That's the question that a lot of people have, and they don't really know the answer to it. They think that one of them is because the government's printing too much money. Number two is because these CEOs are very greedy and they don't even care about the costs. They just want to charge as much as possible because everybody's doing it. But in reality, it's not that we're printing money. It's that we're just creating more debt. So think about the US dollar. We looked at that graph. The US dollar is the strongest currency on earth. That currency has 31 trillion dollars? What is it now even? $34 trillion? Somebody will know. I think it's 34. Anyways, a lot. The US currency, the strongest currency out there, has a lot of debt attached to it. We'll go with 34. And so with that in mind, they owe $34 trillion to who, for one? To who do they owe $34 trillion to? The central banks. But consider that $34 trillion, that currency the pensions, the healthcare, all the other unrealized liabilities with that. Oh, I'm sure the internet's going to go down here just as I'm talking about this. Fucking thing. Okay. So that's what's happening here. We're not printing money. The CEOs of these companies are fairly greedy people, but that's not what's causing the cost. That'd be a small fraction of it. But the problem is that we have so much debt attached to that dollar. Every single day you go to work, 9 to 5 job, 2 out of the 5 days a week, you pay taxes for that. It just goes straight to the government. You don't even see that. It comes directly out of your bank account. It doesn't even touch your bank account. It comes directly off your paycheck, goes to the government. What's the government doing with that money? Are they building roads? Are they building schools? Are they doing good for the world or for your country? I mean, no. They're paying off their debt. Half of that, I think it's half in the US of your tax money goes to paying off government's debt. That is insane. So and that's only going to go up. The debt spiral that we're in right now, prices are only going to go up from here. And so it doesn't matter. It could cost pretty much zero to produce an item nowadays. But because we have to put all of our life's energy, our work, into paying taxes to service that debt on behalf of the government, that's why everything costs so much. Because instead of you going to work, you adding value to the world, and you being able to take advantage of that increase in purchasing power because of the technology, because of the costs of everything going down, plus your purchasing power going up for working, instead of things getting cheaper, it's actually getting more expensive because of the debt that our governments owe. It's an insane concept, but it is the world that we have lived in forever. Well, in our lifetime anyways, but it's just insanity. And so it's easy to bitch about it. And it's easy to say like, poor us. But the thing is here is we have a choice. We have a choice. And so what I'm going to tell you here and what I'm going to advise you to do is a couple things. Number one, start saving in Bitcoin. Do not carry hardly any dollars, or even, the old system there, because that the stock market, all of that is tied into this whole illusion that keeps going on. And if you compare the US dollar to Bitcoin, the US dollar has $34 trillion worth of debt attached to it. How much does Bitcoin have? How much debt does Bitcoin have to it? I don't know. Zero. There's nothing. There's nothing attached to Bitcoin. It's an asset that you can take self-custody of. You own without any sort of interference or a debt attached to it. So start saving in Bitcoin. Start putting your monthly spending cash into Bitcoin. And I talked about this last week, and I've got a lot of good feedback from that episode actually. But think about, this is a perfect day to be talking about our theory with that, because the theory there was that we hold 75% of our monthly expenses that we can pay at the stores in Bitcoin, and we hold 25% of that in cash or your debit, your bank, but preferably cash. And so today would have been a perfect example. If you did have to go to the grocery store today, if you need to buy something today and the price dropped from 70 to 65, today is a day where you would buy that item with cash instead of spending your Bitcoin. So that's why you keep a small portion of it in cash for the down days like today. But then when we see it go the other way against your marker, and if you haven't watched that episode yet, I would recommend it. But then you spend some of your Bitcoin. So things are over time getting cheaper for you. And the next thing there is start buying from Bitcoiners. Not only are you going to see an increase in your purchasing power just by holding Bitcoin, but if you're buying from Bitcoiners, you're getting perfect example, Gray Ridge Coffee. You get 25% off because he's saving those those costs, instead of selling it at Walmart, he can cut that 25% out and save that on your end. And that's what the internet has unlocked for us. That's what technology has unlocked for us, is we don't need those big chains anymore to take all the profits. We can sell direct Bitcoiner to Bitcoiner. And the best way to do that is to join NOSTR. Get on there and start connecting with people. Start finding other Bitcoiners that you can buy and sell from. Because the more you can spend in that system, in the new system, Bitcoin system, the less you even have to give a shit what's happening, how much debt the government owes. 34, 38, 45 trillion, who cares? The quicker you can move out of that system, the less you're going to give a shit about it. So these are the things that we have to start doing today, and even living in the future. So yesterday, and the people in this chat can attest to this, but yesterday after the show, on Living in the Future, our membership tier, we have a group chat in there. And after the show yesterday, I went and checked it. 222 new messages in there. And that's just a small group of Bitcoiners sharing ideas, sharing resources, helping each other out. I think on there yesterday, they figured out how to install Linux on their laptop. That was the theme of the day. So they're talking each other through this. I'm just kind of looking at all the messages. But that's what you have to be doing. You have to be connecting with other Bitcoiners. And I think that the Living in the Future membership tier is a perfect way to do that. So if you are somebody who wants to become a better Bitcoiner, if you want to build a business within Bitcoin and start earning sats, earning Bitcoin, and if you want to continue growing your network and finding new Bitcoiners out there that you can do transactions with and interact with on a day-to-day, week-to-week, and month-to-month basis, consider joining that. You can do 7 days for free trial. We're going to be doing a show right after this. We're going to be talking about April. We're doing a fresh start. We're going through about 8 different things this month of all the things I just talked about. We're going through our security setup, our inheritance stuff. We're looking at different ways to earn Bitcoin, some things we can start doing every single day to create more and start earning more in your life in Bitcoin terms. So with that, if you're interested in joining Living in the Future, in the description below, hop over there. We're going to be going there right now. So for everybody else, James Bond is in there. He said, more than splendid group and strong. No bullshit allowed. It's the truth. And it's something I think that is going to be very important as we head into this next decade. Not only holding your wealth in there, but also your network aspect of it. And this stuff is going to be so important. If you have Bitcoiners in your life that you can interact with, you can buy and sell from, that's going to further push you away from that old system. And that's exactly what we're building.